Good morning and welcome to the Bhoycie Bus Sunday Blether. This is the show where we discuss all the news, the gossip, the hearsay on all things Celtic. I am your host, David Logue, and as you can see, once again, another member of my Sunday team's had enough of my bullshit and decided he's no on this week. So, what do you do when you can't get your pals to join you? Well, you just call up your da. You're right, da. How's it going?
I'm all right. I'm always happy to try and jump in and help you out of a hole. It wouldn't be the first time with it.
No. So I'm glad you've managed to jump on. It's been a while, but of course we can't do the Bhoycie Bus without Bhoycie. We need him on, and he's here to help. We put the Bhoycie Bus logo up in the sky, and he's managed to come out of the shadows.
And he's shining through my curtains this morning, like, no, not today. No.
How you doing?
Good? Aye, jamming, mate. Jamming. Difficult day yesterday. Compounded by the fact I've got a big, massive dragon soup stain on my carpet because I was raging during the football. Kind of like slammed my fist on the desk. I didn't mention this yesterday. I didn't want to because Terry would just take the piss. But I'd been scrubbing away with Vanish all day, and I've came through this morning. I don't think I did fuck all because it is like fluorescent pink in my carpet. I don't know how I'm going to get the stain out, man. It's a mess. I watched the boxing last night as well. It reminded me of cheating in sport and how bad that is also. So yeah. It was just a shite Saturday, man, all in.
I was quite surprised when I read. I mean, I thought he would win, but I was quite surprised to read like what happened because I didn't watch it. But yeah, that was quite a surprise and read on Twitter. But this isn't a boxing podcast. This is Celtic, and we're going to talk all things Celtic. But I just feel like we've been punched in the face once again by Celtic, and we're going to be discussing all that. But before we do, we've got all that good stuff. There's plenty of good stuff to get through, so let's do that first. So remember to like and share. Hit that wee bell there so you get the wee notification that the channel's up and running. You can become a Bhoycie Bus member and support the channel for a small cost of £1.99 per month. There's no extra content. All our content is free. This is just a way that you can help keep the bus on the road. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors at piesports.com. Put bus 1888 into your order and get 12.5% off. Right, that's all that out the way. And I'm hearing that Regan has heard my comments there and he's not happy, so he's jumping on soon. He's making a run in. He's not putting up with that. But as you can see, by the way, I'm just making get all that background noise out the way. That's all right though. We'll get on, right? I don't know if you can. I've got the cancellation of the background noise on, but she was making such racket there. I don't think that was helping, so I do apologise. And here's Regan. Regan is joining us. He's making a run in. He's not happy with my comments. He's here. He's here.
How you doing?
Doing all right, mate? You doing good?
It's good to be here.
I'm glad you managed to make it, mate, because it was looking like it was just going to be the three of us, but you're always ready to jump on and beat me up, so it's good to always have you on, mate. So we're just going to get cracking, guys, okay? So there's been real signs of deja vu, you could maybe say, with this Rodgers campaign so far. I mean, the quotes in the media are suggesting that things just aren't quite right between him and the Celtic board. I'm just going to read you some of the comments that he's made. And Regan, I'm sure you'll have plenty to say on this, so I'm going to come to you first, mate. But this is what he's had to say. I spoke to the club when I first came in and addressed the squad, and we need to improve the quality in there. There have been a number of names mentioned, but as soon as we sign anyone, we'll let you know. I'm hopeful of some new ones coming in. I said before that we'd improved the squad with some of the players that we've brought in. Debatable. But we need to improve the team. Regan, what is Rodgers really saying to the media there? Is he speaking to us, the fans, or is he trying to speak to the board? Just like almost like Ange did when he first came in, saying he maybe wasn't quite forceful enough. Is that what Rodgers is? Is this Rodgers' way of saying that?
Aye, David, he's talking straight to the board. I mean, I'm at breaking point with the board at the moment. I'm sure Brendan has been right there. I mean, being at the game yesterday, David, you could clearly see that Rodgers is not happy, and I think in terms of his press conferences, I'm actually happy seeing it because I know that we've spoken about is Rodgers. Is he stepped back a bit? Is he not the same guy as he was? We spoke about it on Thursday, and I'm quite glad he's come out with these comments because I'm absolutely sick to the back teeth of this board. I think Peter Lowell's back in situ is absolutely the worst thing that could happen to the club. I know people that say he's not the acting chairman, but he definitely is the main man at this club. The more and more I think about it, David, I really do not see the point why we appointed Rodgers in the first place, because it seems to me as if this has been a total Dermot Desmond production, and because Dermot is not working at Celtic day to day, it's really backfired on Celtic as a club. Because for me, why would you have Rodgers in this? I'm going to call it a toxic situation, because that's what it looks to me, David. It looks really toxic. I mean, we're talking about a guy coming in from Southampton. You know, no disrespect to this guy, but I really don't think he's up to much.
Do you know much about him? Do you know much about him?
Say that again, David.
I've got that for later on, but I'm just going to jump straight into that. Why don't you think he's up to much?
Because I just feel like the board are panic. The board are panicking again, David. That's all it is. I don't think he would have been a name that Rodgers would have suggested to them, because quite frankly, if you look at him playing for Southampton, he's not played in a while. And
he played 23 games last season.
Yeah, I get that, David, but I really don't think that he would have been a player that they would have been looking to stay there long term. This thinks of me of David. This thinks of me of Diego Laxalt in the COVID season. It thinks of just bringing people in just to save face for the club. If you want to back a manager like Brendan Rodgers, I think we need to show proper ambition. See, when you're scraping round to the last 4 days of the window and you're going round to clubs asking for players, I'm just absolutely sick of it, David. I really am. I was buying into this whole thing that Russell was saying, we're bringing in quality at the end of the window. But I really, see now, I just think it's an absolute disgrace to treat a manager like Brendan Rodgers like this. I really do. I think it's negligence by the club. Absolute negligence.
Regan mentioned that obviously the Brendan Rodgers re-signing was a Dermot Desmond production. Bhoycie, you asked the question in the group chat. I don't think you got an answer from us yet. So I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask it back to the group that I have in front of me. If this was a Dermot production, should Dermot should he have micromanaged the first window between the Brendan and the board? Should he have micromanaged? Look, I've pulled rank. I'm bringing him in. I'm taking charge, and we're going to sort out this. We're going to sort out this first window, and you guys are going to have to just get on board. Bhoycie, do you obviously you asked the question in the group chat? Is that your feelings that he should have taken charge and stamped his authority down?
I think the thing is, people have maybe forgotten just how strained or how gone that relationship was between the board and Brendan. By the time he left, for 7-8 months, it had been pretty much terminado, as it were. And I think the plan was just to try and ride out to the end of the season, hope they could get over the line then, and then Brendan would F off, essentially, I think is how the board felt. That's the honest truth. Since he's came back, we all know it was a Dermot Desmond number one choice, a Desmond production, as you want to call it. I think then Dermot Desmond's got a responsibility to go, I've got in my man, but there's no point in putting the guy I want back in with a group of people he doesn't get on with and leaving them to it, as it were. That was a situation that's something that needed to be micromanaged and make sure that any promises that were delivered to Brendan, and vice versa, by the way, i.e. you're going to be willing to work under, some of the conditions that you weren't particularly happy with the last time. And all of these compromises that would have been made between both parties were being met. I've got a horrible feeling that for whatever reason, the board and Brendan have been left to it again. And to be quite honest with you, no matter what side of the fence you sit on, the two parties, I think that's fair comment. I don't think they get on. And I don't think their vision of Celtic and Brendan's whatever meet in the middle. That's why you need someone in the middle, I think, to make it work. And I think we're all very full of hope and sort of excitement at Brendan coming back, because we obviously believed the compromise that had been made would have included Brendan getting a bit more of his way than he did last time. John McGinn, Castagna, Puccini, we've been down that road a million times. Not getting any of them, but getting Shveds, Bios, etc. I think it looks like, well, now you'll still get those sort of players, your Shveds and Bios, but we'll make far more concerted effort to bring in Puccini's, Castagnes and John McGinn's from the last window than we did last time. Right now, it looks eerily like that last summer, that January, where it is players that, whether they go out and have decent Celtic careers or not, I think everyone has speculated these are not Brendan signings. I think they would have been made whether Andrew's in charge or whether a different manager had been appointed. So on that, we have to then question whether this situation being allowed to play out between two parties that I don't think see eye to eye nor get on particularly well is the best way to run it. I think you needed a mediator there, and I expected that Dermot might have played a more active role than what he has. Still remains to be seen, of course, but it's just a feeling I get right now, and I think it's worth speculating on. And that's all we're doing, remember.
That's it. That's all speculation. We do not know. But Johnny, weird calling you Johnny, but I'm going to call you Johnny because it's Sunday, and that's your Sunday name. So, Johnny, have we got Brendan Light? Is this Diet Coke Brendan? Because right now, it's looking that way. It's almost a bit like he's... I mean, you could argue it's like he's come back with his tail between his legs a little bit. Then people say, oh, he's come back to rectify the mistake that he made in leaving in the first place. But it's almost like he's... It's like you've come back, he's coming with his flowers, and he said, I'm sorry. Sorry, babe. I'll do whatever you ask. I'll do whatever you say. I didn't mean it. And he's just walking on eggshells trying to make sure he doesn't upset his missus, that is the board, and that is Celtic. That's what it feels like to me.
It's Brendan zero. Never mind Diet Brendan. It's zero. I think everybody knows, or certainly in our group chat, I was more than happy for Brendan to come back. In fact, he was the only option from day one. I said he should be the one we get back. And it's just like the comment there from Sam McIntyre there. Just can't believe he come back without some sort of assurance. There must have been assurances in place, as you said earlier on, Bhoycie, from both parties. And at the minute, it only looks like one party's keeping to that agreement, and that's Brendan.
The only assurance that he's got is you'll be the highest paid manager in Celtic's history. And I think that's been good enough for him so far.
Well, it shouldn't have been, because he's not short of a bob or two. I'm quite sure there was other jobs he could have went to and got just the same amount of money. Leeds United were wanting him. Apparently, he claims that there was a couple of Saudi clubs that had a bit of a nibble towards him as well. Back in Meadows. But
that's
Science.
utter genius.
Science by Stephen Ray.
Stephen Ray, that is the best quote. If Brendan is Diet Coke, then the Celtic board are a packet of Mentos. And we all know what happens if you put some Mentos into Diet Coke. Fucking hell, that's genius.
Yeah. But getting back to the assurances, Brendan must have been given more assurances in the fact he'd be the highest paid manager. But they're not coming through at the minute. And I don't think they're going to come through with them before. When's deadline day? Thursday, is it?
Thursday, yeah.
Friday.
What they've not done in the past 12 weeks, they're not going to do in the next 4 days. So I'm really worried about this season now. I've gone from thinking, yeah, another treble is more than a possibility, to thinking we might end up with nothing. A couple of weeks ago, I was thinking to myself, after the first game and that, I'm thinking, Christ, this is sort of almost mirroring COVID season. But then I thought, nah, you're being overreacting there. But there's been people on the pod and in the chat group have been talking along the same line. So maybe I wasn't overreacting in my own head. I have never dreaded a Celtic Rangers game so much as I am this week because of the lack of activity from the board. And I can't believe that Dermot has insisted that Brendan is put in place and then just left things to flounder the way they are and let that board get on with doing nothing. It's scandalous, to be honest.
But Bhoycie, you've just put in the comments there, 2 domestic games without a striker on the bench too. Now, that was discussed yesterday on the post-match push with Terry. If you haven't watched that yet and you're needing something to watch later on, get on that. Now, I've got a very unpopular view on this, and I know it's going to be unpopular, and I fell out with myself even thinking it. Now, I want to take you back to comments made by Brendan Rodgers. Now, when he first came in, he said, "A lot of these guys I don't know. So for me, there is a clean slate for them all. It's assessing over the course of pre-season what they've done in the past doesn't really matter. That includes the guys who I've worked with before. In order to have that hunger, that's how it has to be. Now, a clean slate works both ways, guys. It doesn't matter how good you were last season, i.e. Hatate. It doesn't matter how disappointing you've been in the past. Why has Turnbull been gifted this opportunity, but Ayeti hasn't? Now, he's back at the club. He's refusing to be paid off. Maybe that's a sign of he's just been stubborn. Maybe it's a sign of he's still got something to prove. And if others have been given a clean slate, why haven't I? Now, I'm not suggesting Ayeti is the answer. However, 2 games in a row, we've not had a single striker on the bench. Now, a striker of Ayeti is still better than no fucking striker. We didn't look like we were scoring a goal yesterday. We could have played 8 added minutes. Nothing. You said yesterday, boys, so you didn't even get off. You're normally right in front of the screen, screaming, waiting on something to happen, and you didn't bother because you knew nothing's happening. Yeah. Ayeti, he's a poacher. That's his type of style. That's what he was brought in for. Yes, it's not really worked out so far. He went out on loan, and he only managed to score 4 goals in 18 domestic games in Switzerland. It's not that impressive, no, but I just feel like if we've got nobody in the youth team you're willing to put a bet on, you've got no fit other striker to play, why are we not just putting him on the bench? Give him that clean slate. Why has he not been afforded the clean slate? Because Turnbull got his clean slate and he scored 2 goals and then fuck all since.
I'll tell you why, David, because he's absolutely rubbish.
Yeah, I guess it's more about Ayeti than it does Brendan. Do you know that? I actually think that's how bad it is.
Yeah, maybe so. And that's why I've been arguing myself since I even thought about it. I'm like, because he's pissed, David. That's why he's not fucking getting on. But it's still at least a recognised striker. And, prove yourself. If you're not willing to pay off your contract, if you're not willing to leave, then maybe just, prove to us why you're here then. Fucking do it in training and get on the bench. And if it's a case of, we've got 8 added minutes and we're needing a fucking goal, just throw them on, see what happens. It's new clean slate, new tactics, new manager. He's never used them before. I don't see why it's not even worth. I mean, we're all been saying that O's not good enough. Well, maybe so. And he probably isn't good enough. But it's got to that point for me. 2 games in a row, we haven't managed to score a goal and not had a recognised striker on the bench. We could maybe either roll the dice. We're willing to experiment and give leeway to some players that don't look good enough. But we have a striker there that we could at least just use and just see what happened. It was better than nothing. It's better than bringing on fuck all, and that's essentially what happened, Regan. But Regan, you're right. You probably are right. He isn't good enough. But he got 2 goals against Betis. Wee bit of confidence boost. That's like Martin Weir's brought up there. Monty's. Yes. He is a lazy C and always will be. I'm more mobile than that C, and I'm stone wet. Okay, fair enough, mate. But Regan, am I missing the mark here? Am I just passing in the wind with that as an option?
I do understand what you're saying, David, but I think we're scraping the barrel when we're looking at someone like a JA, because another thing that's really frustrating me is how can a Motherwell manager say he needs 4 strikers, but a Celtic manager only has 1 striker at the club? Like people keep saying to me, I heard people on radio stations tell me that if you've got 3 strikers at Celtic, then 1 striker is going to be 2 strikers are going to be unhappy. Well, so be it. I mean, I'm sick of every time people saying, "Oh, if we have two strikers, then one's going to sit on the bench." So be it. But we've got a long season. We've got 65 games to play, and I just want to address
Same people, Regan, who want another centre back signed, and that'll take us up to 5-6 recognised
Aye.
centre backs for two places. Nobody
I was
cares.
like, aye, and just one thing, so I just want to address one more thing, right? See if people want to talk to me about Champions League, right? And they want to pay, they want to pay their money. They do realise that, see all that money that you're spending for Champions League, that will equate to £6 million, right? And this is something that frustrates me. So Celtic are taking money off people for £6 million for a Champions League campaign that they're going to get beat bad in because they're not spending the money. But they're going to get £6 million, and they can't go and spend £6 million. And then we go and spend £6 million. People go, oh, but we don't want to go. We don't want to go into administration. I mean, for God's sake, I'm sick of it. Absolutely sick of it. I mean, I'm like, we're struggling to beat St Johnstone, and people are going to buy tickets to watch us play PSG in Barcelona. I don't know what to say. I mean, I really am at the wit's end with this board. I just feel like I think we're being totally let down by everyone. Totally let down.
Are we overreacting a little bit here? I mean,
No.
I know it's not looking great. It's looking very stale. The Rangers aren't looking brilliant either, by the way. Like I said, we've got plenty of games to go. It's only 3 games into the into the league season, and we're still top of the league. I mean,
David, that's the problem.
I'm not. No, this isn't me happy clapping by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not happy with it's stale and it's boring. That's my biggest takeaway so far. Is it's fucking boring. Boring football. The players don't look like they know what they're doing. It's like they haven't got a clue what they're supposed to be doing. They're so ingrained into what the old tactics were that they're almost reluctant to try. Bhoycie, you've been had a more positive outlook so far. It's beginning to grate on you a little bit. Are you still quite pushing that positive bus at the minute?
It's not about. You need to live in the real world as well. I was positive because I had a faith in Brendan, but right now Brendan, I'm not entirely sure is going to have the answers in the final week that he looked at it. And to be honest with you, it's actually more. Again, you make an observation like this and you be called a body language expert. You just can't fucking win. At the end of the day, we're all speculating, as always, as to what the problems are. I thought he looked a dejected figure yesterday. If you actually watch him on the touchline, and it cut to him quite a lot in the Celtic TV coverage. What the time when it cut to him, he was just sort of hopefully clapping like that and shouting Callum McGregor's name. That happened like on at least 3 occasions in the camera cut to him. It looked like, I could be wrong, but he was shouting Callum and just doing that. And I thought, where's all remember the famous, when we went down to 10 men at Ibrox and he's doing all this? Everyone's like, what does that even mean? I didn't even know what these hand signals mean. It was a tactical masterclass. I just feel like as well, if players aren't getting the message, and there seems to be a lot of people saying, good players will be crap in this system. Well, if Brendan Rodgers' system has been crap the whole time, I don't know where he's got the success from. I just don't understand all that either, if the system is just so flawed. I think right now the message that he's trying to get across is being misinterpreted. I think they went from one extreme to another. They went from rock and roll football to being told to play whether it be a more patient style, that's getting turned into pragmatism. When it's getting told to be more pragmatic, that's getting told to be negative. That's getting portrayed as negative. And I feel like even the players have almost in a way exaggerated what the message is. And I think when you're a sole voice, working with the exact same coaches that were pushing a completely different type of training and narrative on the team and how the team should set up, you're isolated. Any manager worth their salt at the end of the day brings in their own backroom team to help get the message across. And in that instance, I think you'll need to look back to Neil Lennon not bringing in any of his backroom team when he returned, and it looked like he was just grateful to be there. Unfortunately, I'm seeing echoes of that with Brendan right now. Mm-hmm. In terms of him turning his eye on the board right now, in terms of, I told him when I first came in I needed quality and things like that. Okay, that's a different story from my theory that we would be bringing in extra quality because it would be towards the end of the window when those players became available. If Rodgers is suggesting, I've been banging the drum from the beginning, then you've waited till the 26th, 27th of August to make that clear publicly. I feel like that was something Ange nipped in the bud pretty quickly in his first spell. Remember, he said, I'm not sure if I'm getting my message across clear enough to the board about getting better players. And he said that pretty early. And he said it with a wee bit of cutting edge to it that you knew was a message, a shot across the bow, as it were, that I want more in. And this board aren't delivering right now. Now, we are going to be at supermarket sweep territory. It is going to be a lot of panicking going on. And I also feel, unfairly or fairly, whoever we bring in between now and the end of the window is initially being viewed upon in a negative light before they kick a ball.
Yep.
And that is almost setting you up for failure either way.
Yeah,
it smacks a little bit. Doing it the way we're doing it at the minute, it sort of smacks of last minute desperation, Christmas Eve shopping. You know, to get the wife a present because you forgot to get something and you're out at 4 o'clock on the Christmas Eve, and the shop shut at 15:15. I could understand the argument you were putting forward, Bhoycie, about the bigger name players that we might want to get won't actually become available until this sort of stage in the window. The problem with that is it's a high risk strategy with a high reward, or no reward, you know, and it leaves you with very little wriggle time to do something different. If the man you want, such as KT, says no, Barca won't let me come here, I'm going to have to go to Sociedad he's going to, then you're scrambling about saying, right, where do we go next? Who's next on the list? And is he already gone as well? So
I don't think the KT really had much going in hindsight anyway. It doesn't look like they even asked the question, because if they asked the question, I think Tierney wouldn't have been on the flight to Sociedad as quickly as he has been. We'll stick with you though. Bhoycie had mentioned, obviously, it's like the players are struggling to really get on board with this new tactical style. Diaz Almeida was in the papers, and it seems like he seems to be struggling to shake the Ange effect. Let's bear in mind that he's been working with Ange for probably 5 years overall. It's been drilled into him, his style of play. Now, what he said was, we are trying to do new things. So individually and as a team, we have to adapt to the new style of play. That quite often happens in football. For me, that means I have to adjust to the new tactics, the training, work hard, and try to make adjustments in the games. Personally, I feel that the tactics of the previous manager are kind of instilled in my game. So obviously, I have to change to the new style. However, the league has already started. You have to get the results as you apply the new style. And that is what we are trying to do. Now, I think it's safe to say Maeda is the Ange player. We all know he's not that technically gifted from what we've seen. Hard worker, high pressure, high press, all that jazz. But he's a bit of he's not a one size fits all. Like, he can only play in one specific style, and I've been a massive cheerleader for Diaz Almeida. I still think he can do something in the Celtic team, but for me, if Rodgers is going to still stick with 4-3-3, and when he starts Yang, who I thought was predominantly more a right-sided player, he's put him out on the left, therefore forced Maeda onto the right. Now, for me, there was a reason why Jota got played out on the right and no Maeda, because Maeda has to be on that left side or up front, depending if you're asking the Japanese international manager. Therefore, you can't even stick. I mean, he's limited. Like, as much as I really like him and want to push for him, he's limited. You're taking that one thing out of his game and putting him out onto his weaker side, when I think Yang could be more than capable of playing on the right. As far as I was aware, that was his position. And then we've seen Maeda's performance yesterday. It doesn't work out there. So you either stick to where he's suitable, or you didn't play him. You don't play him. But of course, right at the minute, we're struggling to find players in the squad, in the current squad, to fill this first 11. Now, is Maeda there saying that like we are as a team struggling to get on board with this new tactic, or have we had it so instilled that this is the way we're trying to play? Roger said at the beginning he was going to only tweak things slightly, but I think it's been a bit of kind of ripped it all up, and we're starting again, and we're just kind of having to just wait until it starts to click. But we don't have that time to click. We need to start seeing results now. Is Maeda going to find himself probably on the bench more? I know a lot of fans are probably quite happy to see that. Or is Rodgers just waiting to get these players in to find where Maeda is going to be more suited?
I hope so. But the thing about Maeda, when he says learning new things, you're like, well, I mean, I like Maeda. But as you've said, he's limited. One of the first things he needs to learn to do is to control the ball. When it comes to him, I think he's a very instinctive player. And his main, and some would say only real weapon, is his pace. When I've seen him do good things, it's been instinctive, that no time to think about something. Give him the ball, time to think. More often than not, it ends up in the back of the stand. I mean, I didn't see all of the game yesterday. I was watching bits of it on a dodgy link on my phone coming home from Cardiff yesterday. And I didn't see this one. Apparently, had a shot which nearly took out the Green Brigade rather than the back of the net. So he's not a winger. I think if we're going to play him, we're going to have to play him through the middle. He's more of a striker, I think, but it's got to be all on instinct. His pace is his best weapon. Some would say only. I was surprised when he got the extension to his contract. I thought he might have been one of the ones who might have been slipping down the pecking order where we're under Rodgers rather than rewarded with a new contract.
I think I generally believe that's just been a case of like, let's just try and protect our assets and get what we, and keep making sure that we're going to get a decent return on them. I think that was probably one of the main reasons. Because Maeda is, from what he was getting a lot of praise at the World Cup, and I think that put a bit more eyes on him than he was probably getting when he was, when he first came to Celtic. And I think that's been a case of the boys just say, right, the Japanese boys have done well, let's just get them signed up so we can protect their assets. I think he will go down the pecking order with the likes of perhaps.
He's still had 3 years on the contract he signed when he first joined us. So there was no desperate rush to give him the increased contract to protect the asset, because he was already pretty well protected anyway in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, you're right now, Regan. But let's just start looking at this window, right? There's still, obviously, there's the talks of the Honduran winger coming in. Not seen much more on that since last Sunday, if I'm being honest. It's looking like it's going to be a done deal, though. But Celtic are continued dialogue with Wolverhampton Wanderers over forward Daniel Podence. Article came out yesterday on Give Me Sport by Italian journalist Rudy Galletti. He said that they could manage to snare him for lower than his £12 million asking price. The key factor is, of course, that his contract is up at the end of the season and he can walk away for free. Reports have suggested that Celtic are on high alert as the Old Gold have placed Podence on the market ahead of the fast approaching transfer deadline. They've claimed that Celtic are among the clubs that are keeping tabs on the 27-year-old Portuguese player. Who's recently transferred. Their insider Dean Jones told Give Me Sport that under Rodgers, to the allege that the wide man could absolutely thrive should he opt to move to the Scottish heavyweights. He is on, Regan, currently £60,000 per week. And he's got less than 12 months left to run on his deal, meaning his employers may have to cut ties with him this summer to avoid the risk of losing him on a free. He's got one cap for Portugal, but he's failed to make any appearances so far in the opening games this season. and it's looking like we are still in talks with Wolves to try and get this player. Is it going to happen between now and the end of this transfer window, Regan? It's meant to be seen, but I'm still holding hope that we do go for him, or is he not good enough for Celtic because he's not good enough for Wolves? Because that seems to be the reason why we don't. The negative sort of viewpoint on players that we're trying to sign is if they're not good enough at the club that they're at, then they're surely not good enough for us. Because that's this narrative I'm seeing a lot of right now.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we do sign him because he would be the marquee signing. And I think he's someone that Brendan would want to have join him at Celtic because he's a really good player. He's someone that's got really good attributes as well, and he could take Celtic to the next level. I mean, I don't understand this notion that I know people will talk about we'll probably get too many wingers now with that new guy coming in. Mikey Johnston's back next week, Russell, so we can look forward to that happening. You'll need to get the Neil Lennon Clarkson back out too, so I can say that to Mikey Johnstone. But no, I just I'm hoping that Brendan Rodgers doesn't say we'll get too many wingers because I think he would definitely be a good signing, and he's someone that the board should be looking at because I was talking about Champions League there, and I personally think David De Gea is Champions League quality player, and he would replace Jota. And also, I said earlier that £6 million they get from the Champions League tickets alone. So surely we could spend something like 7 million on this guy because he's played loads of games in the Premier League. He's shown up really well, and I'm probably 2 or 3 years ago he'd been linked to like Man U or something like that because he was a very good player back then, and he could definitely do a job. He sort of reminds me of the Brendan Rodgers, Scott Sinclair kind of move. So I'm hoping that could be the same kind of effect.
Yeah, he's an exciting player, Bhoycie. I think we'd probably have to be looking at a bit more than 6 million for him. I think we're talking at least matching the Edward fee. If I'm being honest, if they're wanting 12, I think we can at least match the Edward fee. That might have people going, oh, don't know if I want to pay that kind of money, or not us, but the Celtic paying that kind of money for a player on 1 year left who can't get in the Wolves team. I mean, and it's not maybe unproven. At least Edward had proven that he was worth the money at the time. But I think it's a case of that would be a real marker down of the Brendan Rodgers signing, if you will, if we get him over the line, alongside this the Honduran winger who has very similar stats. Palma. Yes, Palma. Yes, he had very similar stats to Podence when he played in the Greek league before moving to Wolves. So very similar statistics. Of course, Podence is 27, so he's right in his peak years. I think it'd be a real good signing if we go for him.
I mean, the transfer fee record thing to me is just irrelevant. I think Celtic have never been so cash rich in their life. We could equal the transfer fee record and still make a net spend profit in the transfer market this window. So if we signed Podence at £9 million, we would still have made more in player sales than in player expenditure. I think that's quite frightening when you consider the 2 guaranteed group stage football entries that we've had to the Champions League last season and this as well, and the rewards that come with that. As well as that, season tickets sold out. Yesterday was sellout against Johnstone. Next home game's a sellout. The fact we've done 3 strips at £70 each, and I think they will, whether they were liked or loved, the fact they cause such debate means they will sell and sell very well, particularly the home kit. They're on their fucking 15th set of training kits already this season as well that they've now released merchandise-wise. The club is taken, but refusing to give back the other way. People can get excited seeing strange of the doctor in the chat. Brilliant to have you on the bus as always, mate. But he's saying, the signings have been great. I
must have watched a different game from me.
The signings so far, we need to find out. And I want to be open-minded on them. I want to be patient on them. But I think there's definitely further ambition Celtic should be looking at with in mind the revenue streams that I've just sort of discussed. With regards to another wee sort of thing that I was touching on there earlier when you were talking about the players and the system and things, one thing we need to find out about these guys as well is, can they handle adversity? What are they like when the chips are, what is it they saying?
The chips are down.
The chips are down. I was going to say the chips are against me. I wouldn't be fucking it. I love chips. But when when the chips are down, what have you guys got in their locker? Have we seen enough of them trying to cope with adversity? I don't know. I think it's an interesting one. You can't just go, but we can only play one system under Ange. That would refer, rather than it being the manager who's limited, that would refer to you being a pretty limited player. If you can only play one way and you've not got the adaptability to actually listen to new methods and be able to adopt them in the park. What I seen yesterday was players did not want to take responsibility. O'Reilly's going to get the pelters for missing opportunities. O'Reilly looked to me like he wanted to score a fucking goal. I don't know if you've seen some of the passing stats from yesterday for Callum McGregor. I think he did 70 completed passes. There was an example of the same fixture last season. He did 180. People all point to Brendan Rodgers for that. I think sometimes we've got to look at the players and go, are you hiding? Take responsibility. It's all very well. Everyone seems to be in agreement. Aye, but we had more than enough to beat St Johnstone yesterday in terms of quality in the park. I agree. Brendan wasn't on the park yesterday. There was 11 players good enough to do something, and they did not take responsibility there and then. And if it is because, we're not used to this being the tactics, we're not used to this being the message, I'd like to find out where the fucking bollocks are as well. Get out there and listen to what a manager's telling you. Get out there and beat teams like St Johnstone while you adapt. Take some responsibility. Have some pops at goal. Try and play a pass that's not just 5 yards sideways and hide under the fact, it must be the manager who wants them to do that. And get on who thinks the manager wants them to play as slowly and turgid football as what they were yesterday. Come on. Behave. The players are hiding a wee bit as well. And when things aren't going well, I want players to stand up and prove that they're Celtic quality. That's what a Celtic quality player does. Celtic class. That is when you take responsibility and you start dictating outcomes yourself. Not hiding under the blame umbrella right now. It's the style of football. It's how Rodgers plays. It's the board. I think these are all more than justifiable talking points for us. But on the park, if we want to have it, we can't have our cake and eat it. If we think we had enough yesterday to beat them either way, then put some of that, in fact, the most of that blame on the 11 guys that were out there on that green stuff.
Yeah. When you think about it, in the last 2 years, one of our sort of trademark goals was getting the ball sort of down out wide and at the edge of the penalty box, down to the touchline, put it across, and who's there? Kyogo or Ibarra were there to put the ball in the back of the net. Yesterday, on the bits I was able to see in the game, on the dodgy link I was watching, we seemed to put quite a few balls into the 6-yard box, and there was none of us, not a single player in there ready to get it. Is that because Kyogo's playing a bit deeper, not getting to quite say on top of the keeper? He'd be in there, he'd beat them to the front post and nick the ball in. I'm thinking that's 4 or 5 times we've done that, and it's straight to the keeper. I mean, just simple stuff for the keeper to take. They pressure, nobody there to just give it the one touch and put it in the back of the net, which Kyogo had done plenty last season, including in cup finals.
But what you said there, Bhoycie, rings true, especially this morning. There's players that are hiding, and there's players that are clearly wanting to take their ball and go home. And they're not happy. They're not happy with the new tactics. They're not happy with the new manager, and they're deciding to take it to social media to express their displeasure. And if you don't know what I'm talking about this here. This is Haksabanovic's Instagram, and as you can see, he's decided to choose these words to basically say that he's not happy. I mean, the way I see it is, stop pretending that you're a rapper.
If you don't see your value, maybe you're not at the right. If they don't see your value, maybe you're not at the right place. Wow.
Pathetic.
I think it also lacks responsibility from him as well. Like, he should look at himself in the mirror instead of putting stupid posts up on social media. I'm not a big fan of players being on social media because it causes too much. Well, like I've seen fellow players in that squad also react to the post as well, like the post. So I think it just adds more fuel to the fire, and he's not doing himself any favours. Because I said this in the group chat this morning. What has Haksabanovic actually did when he came in the club? He scored a goal in the last minute against Hibs, and did a daft wee dance at the end of the game. People thought it was great. What has he actually did? I mean, I think his first game he played was a St game when we got beat 1-0, and he's arguing with the assistant referee. I don't know if you guys remember that game when Ange lost the game 1-0, and he's arguing with the assistant referee. He's arguing with the ball boy. I just think his attitude totally stinks. And I think the sooner we get rid of him, the better, because we don't want it to be another COVID season where we've got players like Cham who wasn't happy, Ryan Christie, Edward. We don't want players to be there to be unhappy. And we want players to go to Celtic and enjoy being there. We don't want to have players there that just go there and not be happy what they're doing, because let me tell you, see if Haksabanovic is around the majority of those players every day, that'll transcend through the training ground straight away. It will.
I'm going to be devil's advocate here. There was another player that wasn't happy about game time last season that took to social media, and we were quite on the fence of, well, he's got a fucking right to be upset. But he was, at least when he was on the pitch, he was doing something. And you could almost go, I can understand why you're, because there's a comment here that's saying, obviously, you don't mind, he doesn't mind it because, strangely, the doctor said, he's human and I don't mind players expressing themselves. And that's fair. He has got the right to express himself. He has the right to be frustrated. However, he's got to be backing it up. You have to have something to back. You've got to be able to back it up.
Totally agree.
A couple of wee world days when we're 4-5-0 up, coming off the bench is all fine and well. But see when we're struggling to beat St Johnstone at home, and we've got 8 minutes added extra time, and you're just doing fuck all, but making sure that you get a good post for Instagram later on to whinge about it, then I'm sorry, but express yourself in other ways. Don't take it to social media. Just come on, take that line and go get it tattooed on your fucking back along with live, laugh, love, right? Because that's all I'm fucking getting out of him right now is just this wee, it's just pure nonsense. Like, I'm not wanting to see that from my players. Go, if you're not happy, do it in training. Go and kick the Rogers door down and say, look, I'm wanting to show you what I can do and you're not allowing me to do it. Do that. Don't take it to social media. It looks like, I mean, Terry said it yesterday on post-match pish. He'll be gone by Friday, and it certainly looks like it's going to be that. Now, before we with
Hacksaw, let's face it, there was plenty of times last year on the bus that we were actually saying he was coming off the bench and doing something half decent. He deserves a start. Give him a start. And then when he got a start, he done fuck all. So, he was getting, well, all right, it was last season, but he was getting the chance to show his value from the start of the game, and he just didn't take it. But let's face it, since he won the Player of the Month back last November, he's not done a thing, really, has he? So, yeah, he might have the right to express his opinion and what he thinks, but he's got to be right with it, He's got to show it. He's not done anything, not shown anything for us to show him that value, if you like, and give him that opportunity. He's done nothing for months.
I feel like when you look back at his career so far, he's not really lit up the place wherever he's been. He struggled at West Ham. I think he did all right out in Russia. I don't know what their league's really like, if I'm being honest. But
he got 4 goals or something in about 30 in Sweden. Was it Gardens or something he was playing for? I think with Haxa, he's one of these players that was just another example of how shite last summer's window was. And again, I might be being a wee bit smarmy about it now, but it's just because the reaction I got last summer was fucking disgusting at times on Twitter. And I'm all for the banter, but I was getting utter dogs abuse last summer for saying, keep your eye on the board. I just listed the players that have been signed, and I wasn't convinced it was the most compelling, Monty, your favourite word. It wasn't the most compelling list of players that were brought in. Hacks, that's one of them. I just think, meh, if he's away, I'm not bothered my fucking arse. I think it'll be a player that we will not look back on and go, wonder if we'll do a Bustalgia episode on Haksabanovic's substitute appearances for Celtic. I don't think he'll ever feature on Bustalgia. If you don't make that cut, then fuck you.
Aye, so let's look towards this deadline day that's approaching thick and fast now. Regan, me and you butted heads right at the start, because what would a Sunday Blether be if you weren't sticking the nut in on me? So you're not happy that we're now looking at this. Now, how do I pronounce this fucker's name? Honestly, man. Where's he went? Lianco?
Lianco.
Rogers was asked about the interest in him. And he told Sky Sports, we are obviously working, and hopefully over the next few days we can update on that, but nothing to confirm at the minute. Now, a little bit about the man deemed not good enough for Southampton. He joined Southampton from Torino for £7.5 million, and he made 21 appearances in the league last year, scoring 1 goal and an assist. The season before that, when his debut season in the Premier League, he made 15 appearances. And of course, like I said, he was playing for Torino, and he made a fair few appearances there. He's a former under-23 Brazilian international. He's 26 years old, and he's made 0 appearances so far this campaign. Now, you can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it as he's no good enough for Southampton, so why the fuck would we want him? Or you could look at it as they got relegated and they've got a guy that they paid £7.5 million from Torino, and maybe they just don't want to be paying his wages anymore, and they need to get him off the books somehow, because we do know that when teams such as Southampton drop into the Championship, they've got a bit of a financial issue to sort out. And personally, I think they can probably get through that Championship and get back up to the Premier League without him. And maybe that's just a case of, you guys need a centre half. We need to get this guy off our books for at least 6 months. He's available. Do you want him? Now, to be honest, I mean, a 26-year-old former under 23 Brazilian player that's played a good handful of Premier League experience for Southampton, and we need somebody better than Kobayashi, and by the looks of it, Scales. Now, I'm not going to write this guy off. I don't know anything about him. I hadn't really heard of him, but from what I've been looking at since yesterday, I don't see it being any worse than Kobayashi, and we need a short-term solution. Rogers seems to be keen on him. He's identified him, perhaps. This is a guy that I want. Forget your Kobayashis, forget yours. We'll keep it holding the Scales this season. I've seen this guy. I've been offered him. I want him. We need him. Like you said, you just see it as panic. You've seen it as panic, Regan, aren't you?
Yeah, I do see it as panic. Somebody put in there that Southampton fans want rid of him. And somebody else said that they try to get rid of him quick enough. I mean, if we're scraping the barrel for these kind of players that clubs are wanting to get rid of, then
Wales want rid of Podence, Regan. Wales want rid of him. They didn't want him. They've told him to go train with under 21s now. Don't come change. Arsenal didn't want Kieran Tierney.
We've already seen his...
It's a fair point as well, though. That is fair. Devil's advocate, that is fair.
Yep, it is fair, but I still don't think this guy is going
to... But you like Podence. That's the difference.
It's because I've seen him play. I've seen him playing quality matches. I'm just disappointed because, Russell, I imagined the same thing that you did, that near the end of the window we'd bring in quality players. I think instead we're not going to get that. I think we're going to get players, squad fillers like Ange Postecoglou wanted last year. I think he said we've got a good first 11, so then we'll just try and add squad fillers. And I think for a manager like Brendan Rodgers, I don't know if he's... I said yesterday on Twitter, I think he's a little bit confused with the whole situation. Because, I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see this guy lift the title at the end of the season. I'd love nothing more. But it's one of these ones where I would rather, what Terry said, I'd rather that Johnny Evans player come in. A guy that's been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, and he's got a great relationship with Brendan. David, you said there that you think Brendan Rodgers is said he wants this guy. Has Brendan said this or?
No, I'm not. I'm speculating. But if we're getting closer to the window and we've all been, banging the drum of these are the guys coming in at the end of the window will be Rodgers signings, guys that Rodgers wants, then I don't see why he doesn't fall into that bracket if we're needing a centre half. Now there's 380 live, by the way, on a Sunday morning record. We've got Regan Stevenson with us. We've got Johnny Logue. We've got Bhoycie. But the numbers here have risen because of this Sunday Blether team. Phil, Judge. Perhaps we'll need to we're going to have to sort this lineup, I think.
Definitely. There's going to be a few transfers at the deadline.
We'll he always says, misery loves company. That's what he always says, isn't it?
That's it. Well, the judge isn't here because the judge fears Logue. Get it trending on Twitter. All 380 of you. Make sure you're liking the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Become a Bhoycie Bus member. Get your Sky, your pie.com. Get all that sorted. But yeah, 380 live.
Do not look up pie.com.
Pie.com. Piesports.com.
Yeah. Please enter web addresses. Please enter web addresses responsibly. Do not look up pie.com.
Make sure I don't hit that screen share button while I'm on here just now.
There will be no tasty 12.5% discount at pie.com.
Oh, brilliant.
Goodness me. Well, guys, we're about to hit the hour mark. Now, if I missed anything, has there anything not been brought up? Bhoycie, Johnny / Dad.
I just want to mention that again yesterday I thought the squad looked well off it. I thought Greg Taylor, Tony Ralston, like this is something I said to the guy sitting beside me yesterday. I says, like, these are players that under Rodgers' first spell, Tony Ralston was nowhere near it. He was loaned out to St Johnstone, and now we've all of a sudden imagined ourselves to go, oh, he's definitely good enough for a backup. I mean, he came on that game yesterday, and I just thought, oh, here we go again. I think as well. I've been a big critic of Joe Hart. I thought he made a great save yesterday to not let St John's score. But yeah, apart from that, David, I think the left back position, the right back position needs strengthening before the deadline. The striker position, and if there's a Friday show, I look forward to popping on after the deadline because I really don't think I think we'll be sitting here next Sunday saying that we're still overwhelmed. We're still not happy with the squad because I think we need to be honest as well, David. That see watching that game yesterday, it was very turgid. It wasn't nice to watch, and like you can say, oh well, sometimes you get those games. I watched that game last week at Rugby Park. It was the exact same. I watched the game, Ross County game. I was at that game as well. See for the first 20 minutes, Ross County had the best two chances in the game. The Aberdeen game, we let Aberdeen have far too much of the ball. Aberdeen had a great chance to get it to 1-1. The Aberdeen guy was 3-1-1 with the goalkeeper. He probably should have scored. I think we need to be realistic and say we hope that every single season that Celtic strengthen and they move forward. And I think sadly we're not doing that. And I think it's a case of we totally need to be honest with this board and say Peter Lowell's back and we're back to the old times that we were. And I know people say he balances the books well. Well, tell him to sign a few players and I'll be happier because it's just not working.
Bhoycie, are you worried about next week? You worried about what the state of the squad will look like next week, and obviously heading to Ibrox? Does it worry you, or are you still a little bit zen?
I think when it comes to Ibrox, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors that could play. One of them I'm not overly enamoured with thinking about, but unfortunately, we are where we are. I think if PSV were to get a result this week, which I wouldn't write off at all, we could be playing a wounded animal a wee bit, to be honest with you. I think if they don't make that, in the words of John Thomason, they need the money. I think we can all work that out. They need the money.
You're all clever boys.
You're all clever lads. That was amazing. And I think if they don't get that, there'll be a bit of, I think we'll see their supporter base maybe doing a few podcasts like we will be this week with a wee bit of panic in the air. Now that will help us out. I mean, that's again not what I want to be counting on. I'm just adding it in as a potential factor. I also think we have to get our head around the fact there'll be debutants in that game. Unbelievable. I don't know why I said debutants like it was French. They're debutants. Debutants.
Respect.
There will be debutants that will feature at the weekend. I'm in no doubt about that. Rodgers will. And I think as well that you need to remember, he is someone who has been around the block in this fixture. He won't do anything with emotion. Everything that he does will be hopefully with a crystal clear mind that is laser focused on getting the results. He's got a fantastic record in the fixture. We are up against it, I think, a wee bit right now, mentally. I just think from the fan base to the players to the whole vibe, but that can change. That could change with a few mitigating factors as well. Another week's coaching under Rodgers as well, and hopefully these guys that we all think were world beaters last year can actually, start picking up on some of the methods that are being portrayed to them instead of taking them from one extreme to the absolute other. But we'll find out. We will find out in good time. I'm not panicking about it. I love these sort of games anyway. I think it's always something to look forward to. It comes in a very, very strange week where it's deadline day on the Friday. The Champions League draws the Thursday. They could be out the Champions League or they could be in it as well. The team that we're coming up against, the number of debutants we could see in the team could be mad. Celtic might spend a fortune. They might drive us up the wall all week. It's going to be very, very interesting backdrop to this fixture. It's Rodgers' first one since he came back as well. I think there's a hell of a lot on the line. Let's get it right, though, for a bit of positivity, like Terry was wanting to say. Win on Sunday, we're 4 points fucking clear at the top after about 4 games. Think on that.
Yeah, think on that. Right, before we go, I just want to say a massive thanks to my new Sunday Blether team. Bhoycie,
No worries.
Johnny the Dad.
Don't count on me for fucking Sunday mornings.
Just before you go,
I'm just too busy.
Not related to what's just happened. We were talking about the Celtic as such, but if you, all viewers out there, and all you guys here, if you get the chance to go and see an evening in conversation with Martin O'Neill, go, because it's one of the best nights I've had. I was there 2 weeks ago, and even when he's not talking about Celtic, he's absolutely fascinating to listen to, and he just holds the room in the palm of his hand. So if you get the chance, go and see it. You will have a great night. 23 quid, that's all it cost me.
A big thank you as well to you, Johnny, for getting Martin to sign the book. Martin signed the book and he posted it to me. That was really, really kind. And he said to Bhoycie of the Bhoycie Bus, best regards, Martin. It was class, mate. So thank you for that. That was quality. A bit surreal, but it was class. One
of the best things about him was he's very humble. And it really, really is. It's absolutely genuine. And he says, if you want to, I'll stay back and I'll sign some books and photographs. And it's not just the usual best regards. He has a little chat with you and they'll pick them out in that chat and then he'll sign it. There's one of the lads that I met there who I used to go to the pub and watch the games with. He said, he was telling me about it over a drink after it. And he said, I was absolutely couldn't say anything to him. And I just said, look, I'm absolutely dumbstruck. He said, the last time it was like this was when I met Jimmy Johnstone, who was the greatest. And when Martin signed the book, he wrote, he said, to Steve, Jimmy was the greatest. Best wishes, Martin O'Neill. So he
classy, that's classy.
Yeah, so he put something almost personal in it as well. He was great, and his stories he tells were great. The one he tells about when Bobo smacked the Barcelona player, and
Thiago Motta.
The story I got told was that the referee came in and said to Rab Douglas, "You out," and sent him off. Mistaken identity. Well, how could you mistake Rab Douglas for Bobo Baldi? It just doesn't happen. But the story that Martin tells, if you want, I can quickly tell you it. He said to us, he said, I used to have this footballer, centre half, called Bobo Baldi, and he said he was massive. He said he didn't say very much. He said, but at half time when we were going off, we were just playing Barcelona. He said, walked down the tunnel. He said, I could see this Barcelona player lying on the floor. He said, I just looked at him and I thought, that's Bobo that's done that. He says, and then he says, I walked on a little further. He said, there's another 2 Barcelona players holding their faces down. He says, definitely Bobo. So he says, he walked in the dressing room and he says to Bobo, he said, Bobo, he said, come here. He said, the Bobo didn't say very much. So I just said to him, did you hit that Barcelona player? Yes, boss, says Bobo. He says, why? He says, he disrespected me. Why? What did he do to disrespect you? He said I wasn't very good. Martin said to Bobo, he said, well, Bobo, maybe he had a point. He says, what about the other 2? He said, did you hit them as well? He went, yes, boss. He said, why? He said, they were in the way. So Martin then says, he said, I'm thinking to myself, I've got a problem here. He says, because as much as he's limited, I need this guy next week for the return game. So he says to Rab, he said, UEFA officials are going to come in here in a minute, and then you're going to tell them that you hit that Barcelona player. He said, but I didn't. He said, look, you're going to tell him when they come in that you hit that Barcelona player. He said, the reason I've done that, he said, I had a young upcoming goalkeeper by the name of David Marshall, who I quite rated. So I've got Rob Douglas sent off so I could keep Bobo on the pitch to play in the return game. And David Marshall played a blinder against Barcelona and in the second half, and we went on to win. So
there you go, man.
A bit of smarts as you talk about, Russell, you know, had to muddy the waters a little bit to get what he needed. So, but honestly, everybody, go and see him. He's brilliant. And
hopefully he doesn't tell that story again. Right, guys, thanks for joining us on this Sunday Blether. We will be back tomorrow, Bhoycie, for Monday Club.
Oh, yes, 7 o'clock.
Oh, there you go. 7 o'clock on the dot. Don't miss it. And get ready to strap in, guys. There's deadline days on its way. Get your yellow ties out. We'll see you then. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.